welcome everybody to PEMA TV.
Welcome to Friday, February 7th, 2014.
And where is the year going?
Up.
Well, just for all of our viewers up here, that everybody that's known Kim and I for a while, and everybody kind of knows with our relocation to Texas and everything, we've kind of been out of practice. Well, guess what, folks? The Dynamic Duo is going out tomorrow night.
You actually
tried to make it sound exciting.
Actually,
anyway, way to back me up.
Yeah,
with
but
that
we're also going with Josh and Martha Hazard Decker. So
yeah, we're actually going to go investigate Kim's shop, and there's some stuff going on.
There's all kinds of craziness going on.
But yeah, we're getting back in the saddle again.
Yeehaw.
The sores will be in the same spot, I'm sure. But speaking of Metaluna Boutique and Stones, Kim, what exciting item are we showing tonight?
That's one of the newest items. That's part of the boutique side. It's kind of a 1960s retro mini dress.
It's like a zombie cartoon dress.
Yeah, it's a zombie cartoon dress because it says, fresh brains and all that kind of stuff. But it also has the holes on the sides like the 60s did. Mm-hmm. It's really cute. I actually sold one yesterday.
That's awesome. And if you guys want to come see Kim and I personally, or Mr. Stephen LaChance, or DeCordo Lawrence, you can catch us at History, Haunts, and Legends in Jefferson, Texas on April 12th. You can get your tickets. Go online to jeffersonghostwalk.com and get your tickets before they sell out, especially for Dakota's galleries. His galleries sell out quick, so be sure and join us quickly for that. Dr. Rita Louise will be there. Once again, Martha Decker will be there. Larry Flaxman.
Another PEN host, Selena.
Selena Rome will be there, and she will be speaking too.
Yep. Kathy Nance.
And even though she's a Seahawks fan, we'll still let her speak.
Barely.
Just for a little while, though. But tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by one of the premier couples of the paranormal. Tonight, we're joined by Mark and Debby Constantino. Guys, are you out there?
Yeah, we're in here.
How's it going?
Going just great. Like I talked when we talked setting up the interview. I got so wrapped up doing stuff down in San Antonio, I should have walked up and introduced myself. But you guys have been doing this for a little bit.
Yeah. So you were down at the San Antonio event?
Yeah, I was the big fat guy in the suit and tie that was walking around.
Well, there were a bunch of zombies there, so I wouldn't recognize you. Oh, damn, I'm getting a really hard feedback. I'm going to take you off speaker. Okay, can you guys hear me?
Hear you just fine.
Okay. I'm getting a little feedback, but yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, no, we didn't know that you were down in San Antonio. Yeah, you should have came up and introduced yourself.
Yeah, and just about the time I was going to start going and talking to Patrick Burns. I've been friends with Scott Grunwald for years. First time I got to meet Scott was down there.
Yeah, he likes to investigate naked. That's how he is.
Well, yeah, then Scott's got just that small case of ADHD.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. But
just
okay.
a little.
Yeah.
Just
we
a
all
little
have something, don't we?
Yeah.
Scott's great.
Squirrel. But other than you guys have been known as EVP specialists mostly. And a lot of people, you know how it is with the paranormal. People make a lot of claims, but you guys actually have the experience to back it up. Which, thank you, because we need more people like you guys with experience out there. But why did you guys choose EVPs and not concentrate on photos or videos?
Well, actually we would try anything that would get any kind of evidence because, I was kind of born into it. I was born an only child. I was born in my backyard led up to a cemetery. So I was born seeing, as an only child with parents that didn't believe in me. So I always, it was always a passion for me. I always looked for a way to prove it. And, film is great, but when you get your first voice and somebody answering you by name or a question before you ask it, and then you hear them answer it, then on tape, hear you ask the question after. I mean, there's not a better tangible evidence out there, I don't believe, unless you're seeing a full-blown apparition right in front of you and you have them sit down and offer them tea,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm getting such bad feedback on here. Mark, why don't you elaborate, and I'll go up and switch phones.
Yeah, and I mean, basically, you know, EVP is what turned out to be the direction that we got our best success with.
Yeah, but that's also what we do the most too. So I think you got to kind of weigh that out. If that's all you do, then you know you're going to get better at whatever you utilize.
Right. I mean, but we still take photos and stuff like that. But we normally don't catch anything, you know, on photos or anything like that. So we just, you know, we had really good success. Way back when we heard about EVP, we figured we'd try it out, and it's just been really successful for us.
Yeah, it's
for
almost
some reason, you know, they're choosing to speak to us. You know, I mean, we're not the only ones on a planet getting EVP, but, you know, we tend to get, you know, decent EVP, and you know, that's kind of what led us to focus more of our energy on communicating through EVP.
Well, when you guys, and I'm very curious about this because we've talked several times to Michael Esposito. We've done some work with David Roundtree, and he's a sound engineer, and of course Michael's he's an artist with it, but he's also is very good at collecting EVP phenomena.
Tommy Golden too.
Tommy Golden also, but I'm very curious to know what do you guys think what is the process, the theory that you guys have on how EVPs are created?
How they're created?
Right.
Yeah. Well, EVP, there has to, well, okay, this is the theory, and this theory goes back a long ways. EVP is not anything new.
Right.
But the theory is that spirit has to have some sort of a noise to produce into their message. And we...
Kind of like clay for a sculptor. They need something to make the voice out of, you know, and our theory is they use the internal noise of the recorder. But I do think that there's some cases, too, to where if you have a really clear recorder, you can put like a ceiling fan on very, very low, kind of hold that really clear recorder next to something that gives it some type of, you know, clay, if you will. Yeah, external noise or clay to mold, if you will. And, you know, well, that's my theory, but I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go on.
Well, no, I mean, in the beginning when we first started, I mean, we experimented with, like Debbie said, the ceiling fan noise, running water. We used to carry, you know, those really small mini fans that you can buy?
Sure.
The ones that, like, clip on.
Kind of whirl around your neck.
Yeah.
Anything that'll generate just a little hum, but nothing that can be misinterpreted into a word.
Yeah, and in the beginning we experimented with a bunch of different things, but after time it got to the point to where we didn't have to use the external noise. We were just picking up basically the recorder, and that's the reason that why if somebody recommends a recorder to us, you know, a recorder, you know, which kind of recorder should I get? We kind of lead them towards, I guess you can say, kind of the first generation recorders, the older recorders that weren't built really, really well. I mean, you know, digital note takers have come a long, long way since the first ones that came out.
Yeah, but I mean the older models, the older Sonys, the older Panasonics, they're noisy, they're junky, they were made cheaply, they were taken off the market. Right. And these are the ones that aren't the clearest memo takers on the planet, but they will give the spirits the clay to mold their words.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
They seem to have the most internal noise.
Well, along those lines, would you say that if you could actually get a cassette recorder, would that be even better?
Well, yeah.
We actually...
No, if you're gonna...
No, that's not true, Mark. We've actually got a vintage reel-to-reel.
Well, yeah.
It's very difficult. Well, no, I'm just saying it's very difficult. You know, to me, you always have the question of bleed through. We've got an EVP on it. They're very expensive. If you were to buy them on eBay, I think I was charged like $60 just in shipping.
Well,
I think they're all really good. I know Heather Taddy, she gets great EVP, but she's stuck on M-Lock. So whatever works for you, but I think the main thing to remember is when you're getting it, like Mark was saying, first we used a ceiling fan, then we used water, then we used this as a background noise. What I equate it to is almost like a cartoon character, to where you see like Elmer Fudd with a drill going through one side of the cave and Bugs Bunny on the other side trying to drill till they meet. I think once you meet, you know, you don't need that external noise anymore. They're already kind of in your realm, and, you know, they expect you to talk to them. And if you've been talking to them every day or twice a day for all this time, well, they're kind of waiting for you, and they're kind of in your space. So my theory is, as long as I equate it to pudding. You know how you get that skin on the pudding? But if you keep that pudding stirred, you don't get that skin grow back. I know it's a gross analogy, but if you can kind of wrap your mind around it, as long, you know, once you start getting it, in my mind, and this is just my theory, they're kind of right there waiting to talk to you too. And in my head, it's all like, well, they don't provoke us. I mean, they're not. They're being kind of nice to us. They say a prayer for us. We have a nice conversation. They're hearing what they said, what we said, because they repeated it to us. So we know we're not wasting our time here. We know they're getting it, you know, and it's kind of taken off from there. But I do think that the more you record on anything, whatever you're using, I don't care if you're using a camera, a video, whatever, it takes them a while to get used to it. It takes you a while to get, you know, results. Once you do that, don't put it down. Keep doing it. Or, you know, and we learned this from Aaron Goodwin. He's like, no, dude, I put my PX down there, and I tell him, figure it out. And, you know, so, you know, I took his advice, and I said, well, you know, I'll put my oven timer on. I'll put my PX on. I'll put it on whatever first speed or whatever it is, and I'll let them use that for an hour. If I don't hear anything, I'll let them know, and I'll say, okay, I'm putting it up to the next speed. I'll put my oven timer on another hour and try to let them figure it out. Whatever they're coming in clearest at is the speed I'll use. You know, because we have no idea what kind of, you know, stuff they have to mesh through to get to us on their side.
Right, and I would say there are, I mean, you can absolutely collect EVP on cassette recorders.
To me, it's just too messy, too much work.
Yeah, it's not as practical as a digital recorder, but there are certain times, I think, when you can have too much external noise, and some of the cassette recorders do produce too much not external, too much internal noise.
Right.
And if that seems to be the case, depending on whatever model cassette recorder you're using, you can still use it, but you might wanna try to experiment with an external mic. Put like a 3-foot long external mic, plug that in, and see if you get better results.
Okay, Mark, I'm going to be right back.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Tim Raincorn.
I mean, it's really... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Tim Raincorn, last time we did an investigation together, gave me an external mic.
Right.
That clips onto mine. Do you find that some of the digital voice recorders that they find it easier to manipulate them a little more?
Yeah, and that's what we were referring to before, is what we tell people is don't go out and spend $250 on a digital recorder,
right,
because in our experience, you get more EVP on the cheaper versions because there's more internal noise to play with. We went out and bought an H2 Zoom, and we don't use it a lot, but it's so crystal clear. It's such a good recorder that I don't think we've ever recorded EVP on it. It's a great control recorder because it'll pick up every little sound in the room,
right,
but it doesn't, for us, seem to work very well as far as capturing EVP because it's a newer...
Well, I can't say that, Mark, because I haven't used it enough to...
But I already said that we haven't used it that much.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, like I said, it would be really good to use as a control recorder. But, you know, it's a high-end recorder, and the internal parts are also high-end, which is going to lead to less internal noise. And our theory, and like I said, the theory going back at least 50 years, is that they are making, they need, like the mold, like Debbie said, the clay to mold. They need some sort of noise in order to bring their voice forward.
Right.
You know, I mean, but
let me talk for a
so
second.
let me say one more thing.
Well,
Okay. And this is really all a mystery, because there's been tests done to where people have recorded and not even introduced a microphone into the equation, and they have picked up EVP.
Yeah. Well, did Nikola
So figure that out.
did Nikola Tesla recorded voices when they were first experimenting with trying to build the first radios, and there was nobody else in the world broadcasting anything anywhere, and yet they recorded. They heard voices coming through their machine. So
Yeah.
there's
It goes way back.
Yeah.
Well,
Thomas Edison. I mean,
yeah,
it goes
well, my
back.
thing is, let me talk for a second, okay? My thing is, if you go to Walmart, any recorder that's not locked up, that they don't need to unkey, is a cheaper recorder. So believe it or not, I went there, and, you know, we have people emailing us all the time saying, you know, I caught this on this, and I caught this on this. So whenever I'm in Walmart and I have a few extra bucks, I always pick up a recorder. And I'll tell you, the Olympus, I want to say it's the DM10 or DS10. You can get it for like $40 in Walmart. That gets great stuff, you know, and I don't think it's failed me yet. There was also another recorder I got at Walmart for less than $40. It's kind of, my rule of thumb is buy it for $1 at a garage sale, or get anything that doesn't require a key at Best Buy, you know, for them to open the case and charge you $200. It's the lower end noisier recorders that to us are yielding us the stuff. Now that's not to say that there's not spirits on the other side that totally know how to speak and how to utilize a high end recorder, because they're just good speakers on that side. So in my theory, but you know, we've gotten EVP on the really high end recorders. It's been Class A, but far and few between. Maybe one every 2 hours, to where when you turn on an older, junkier recorder, you know, you'll get it like practically every time you turn on the recorder. So you can actually kind of say, okay, I heard you say recorder. What do you mean by that? And they'll be like, oh my God, she heard her say that. Well, let's stand here and let's tell her some more. And before you know it, the room gets colder, darker, and you're carrying on a conversation with whoever we're talking to.
Well, I actually use that particular Olympus. And
oh, do you like it?
I love it. But see, that was kind of where my question was going as far as them manipulating it. It's been around I've had mine for almost 5 years. Well, now we'll be out somewhere and walking around, and I have like the Velcro shoulder holster for it. So I'm not touching it at any time. And it's gotten to the point now to where about every third time we go out, it'll start going off by itself, and it's like playing what has already been recorded. So I'm wondering...
Right, is it possible that you don't have a hold feature on it?
No.
No, I have a hold feature.
It's being manipulated internally. She can literally turn it off, put it in her holster, taking a break, going outside, whatever.
And it'll go back on and start playing what was already recorded.
I've had that happen too.
So you mean the recorder automatically turns itself on?
Right, like it's been around so long that they've figured out how to manipulate it more than just speaking through it. They're actually playing with it now.
Yeah, and maybe they're saying, hey, lady, you can't take a break. We like you. We want to talk to you. Yeah. You know, keep going. You can't have that cigarette right now.
Right. You'll be walking down a hallway, and all of a sudden you'll hear your own voice, and it's like, what? And the recorder goes back on.
We've had that happen with various equipment, too.
Yeah, but then you also have to take into account that maybe it may just be a malfunction.
Well, it could be.
You know, in the recorder, that for whatever reason, it just turns itself on for no reason at all.
She's saying that she has the whole feature on.
Well, Mark, what I'm saying is after the third time of her bringing it to me and checking it and taking the batteries out, putting the batteries back in, clearing the memory, and it does it again, it's I'm not gonna. It's not an attachment with her per se, but there is something that's around her all the time. That
Right.
when she goes out and turns this particular piece of equipment on, and I want to say it's a child spirit that's doing it, because it happens so often now.
And I mean, I can have the hold feature on. I can have the thing completely shut off, and be walking down the hallway, and all of a sudden, here it goes again.
And you know from in Debbie, well, I'm sure both of you guys know this. With that particular Olympus, you have to push like 2 different buttons to make it go on and off. It's not an automatic. It couldn't like bump into something and turn on. You got to hit like 2 different buttons. So
Yeah.
especially to make it playback or record, because you have to select a file. That's the whole thing. It's being manipulated somehow, and it's just interesting stuff. But like
Yeah.
that's her personal one. I have 2 of the even cheaper RCAs that we have gotten some absolutely incredible stuff recorded on.
Oh, I've got some good stuff on the RCAs too.
Yeah, with the little slide out USB port, gotta love them.
Yeah. Well, I have so many recorders. It's just we're so backed up on editing and all that, and with stuff. So we basically use what we have. But yeah, for this trip though, I want to bring like.
Do you guys have,
a
Mark?
bunch of different ones.
Specifically, Mark, do you have a specific piece of equipment that you prefer?
Yeah, we use the older Panasonics.
Uh-huh.
I mean, when push comes to shove, I think the older Panasonics are the best for us. But like Debbie said, see, the thing with recorders that we recommend are recorders that you're going to have to find on eBay.
Right.
Because they're no longer manufacturing them.
And I hate to say this, but the Olympus we were talking about as well, I believe that's discontinued too, because I bought one about a month ago in Radio Shack because they're no longer making them.
Yeah, I bought mine at Radio Shack, almost 5 years ago.
Yeah, well, if you see any more, scoop them up while you can before they get on eBay. It's horrible how this works, but it's just how it is. And the thing of it is, too, that a lot of people need to keep in mind is that, yes, they work, and yes, they get good EVP, but guess what? When one breaks and you pay $1,500 for one, there's no parts. There's nobody to fix it. Panasonic is not making any more.
Yeah, but if you bought it at a garage sale for $5 and you drop it, you don't feel nearly as bad as if you drop a $300 Zoom.
Oh, hell yeah, no. But what I'm saying is, like, these older Panasonics are going, I think what had a lot to do with it, I don't know about a lot, but, we did the live event at with Ghost Adventures on their first season. And so we were getting stuff left and right. Well, everybody was, like, Googling, what kind of recorder? And the price shot. We could have used a tin can. It wouldn't have mattered. The price of tin cans would have went through the roof. But the whole thing with it is, just stick with what you know. Go to a garage sale, get cheap stuff, whatever. I would bet you if you go in Walmart tomorrow and you buy a recorder, say no less than $40. If you work with that recorder for a week, I bet you sooner or later you'll get it to chirp. You know what I mean? Well, I guess our point is you don't really have to drop all this crazy money for a recorder. They'll all work. It's just more of a matter of, it's almost like a guitar laying there. Now, you're either going to play that guitar or you're not going to play that guitar. Well, if you don't play the guitar, the guitar is not going to make any music. But if you do play it, then guess what? The more you play it, the better you get at it. It's like anything else. It just kind of annoys me that the price of recorders are as high as what they are, especially when people don't realize, if this thing breaks, I can't fix it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a week ago. I think it was about a week or two ago, and one of the Panasonics was up on eBay, and it was being sold for $1,700.
Youch.
For a 25 for a 20
saying,
for a $25.
And it's brand new and it's this and it's that, but they need to realize, it's brand new, but it's been sitting in the box for 16 years. So you're shelling out $1,700 for a recorder that may be brand new out of the box, but is 16 years old.
Right.
You're paying $1,700 for a $10 recorder.
You just have to be really careful.
Well,
not to mention they're not even worth nearly $1,700. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Well, and then it becomes a game of one-upmanship, because that does happen between teams and between well, between teams, basically.
Well, I got
Yeah,
this,
well,
and I spent this much
yeah.
for it.
You've got an 8-camera DVR. Well, I'm better than you. I got a 12-camera DVR and 3 K2s because I might run into 3 doors.
Well, what can you do with them, though?
Well, K2s are great to hold open doors.
Hey, I use dowsing rods.
Yeah.
No batteries needed.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, and Debbie,
Or you
I
should
know
say they use you, right?
I know it mentions on the website, and a lot of people already know this, that you have a more, Mark is a more technical guy, and you have a more spiritual connection with what goes on. But I wanted to ask you guys' opinion of the metaphysical connection that the paranormal has, and how people, how should people, in your opinion, how should people view that metaphysical connection?
Well, I'm not really. It's kind of a vague question to me. Metaphysical, kind of like is another word for the paranormal to me. So how should people view it? Well, I view it as it's absolutely real. I have no doubt in my mind. You know, it's one thing to say, well, you know, you've been around the block a couple times, whatever. But I was seeing this stuff since childhood. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I absolutely know it's for real. I believe in good. I believe in evil. I also believe. You know, whatever you are into, whatever you're looking to get, you'll receive. You know, if you're looking to, how can I equate this? You know, you can Google anything you want on the internet. You can Google demons and get in that demon frame of mind. And, you know, you better believe the more into the dark side you'll get, you know, what you're looking to reveal, you'll receive. The same thing with angels. I know in my soul it's real. I believe we're only seeing the tip of what's out there, the tip of the iceberg. You know, it's like the Titanic sunk. Well, it struck what's beneath it. We don't even know what dimensions we're working with. We have no clue. I've doubted myself so many times by the intelligence of the voices we're getting. I contacted MUFON thinking, hey, maybe, you know, and some of the stuff that I've seen with my, I don't know, I guess third eye, but you know, it's right there, and it's not human. So I contacted MUFON to see if I was maybe contacting aliens. I mean, we have no idea what would... so I don't know, Mark, do you want to add anything there?
Yeah, no. I think that's fine.
Well, the reason I ask is because there's usually a huge division, quote unquote, in the paranormal. You know, there's teams that have nothing but mediums and psychics on their team, and there's teams that are nothing but scientific. What I'm saying is, I'm of the belief, and I know there's several other people out there right now doing research that are of the belief that it's going to take a cross section. It's going to take science validating what the mediums are already getting. That's my point of view. No, I agree with you. The thing why I didn't get your question is, Mark and I have only worked with just, you know, leading ghost hunts or just with each other in haunted houses. Like every house we live in has got activity. So we've never actually worked with a group, thank God, because it's hard enough to work with each other. But you know, I totally see your question now, and I totally get that, you know. And I think that kind of lends its hand to crime solving as well. Mm-hmm. You know, if you look at, you know, people can say what they want about Sylvia Brown, but she worked with the police department. She gave clues, and the clues were revealed to be real. You know, I met the woman once, and she, you know, I don't know. I think that if you're given valid information and doing the right things with what you're given, and, you know, how can science argue that? Okay, you know, we had a case with Brianna Dennison that was on America's Most Wanted. It was in Reno. We were traveling all over the country. Our kids were younger. They were still living home. We would leave them home, and then we would come back, and we're like, oh, my God, there's a serial killer. So we went to the location. As unfortunate as it is, it was a college student found in an open field, and her body wasn't revealed until the snow melted. And her body was discovered, 19 years old. And so we went down there to get EVP, and we're like, you know, we got truck sold, which later happened. The truck was sold, and all this valid information. And, you know, not even as far as crimes, but as far as, you know, your health, or, you know, you see these people talking to themselves on park benches. Well, it's my belief they're talking to someone, and if somebody was actually recording with them, you could pick up the voices of who they're talking to. Mm-hmm. And I think if we can validate this through mediums and through science and through the police department and whatever, and we all come together instead of bump heads,
we could take this to a much higher level. But would that really actually happen? Would, the medical science want to say, well, no, we make our money because this guy's hearing voices, and you can't validate his voices because then that'll, take my job away, or I don't know. I'm going a little crazy with this, but
No. Actually, Michael Esposito kind of said the same thing, that schizophrenics have one foot on either side of the veil.
I totally believe that. That makes total sense to me.
They're always hearing voices and carrying on the conversations on the park bench. But are they? Is there really a mental issue, or are they actually carrying on real conversations?
Or are they actually the ones that are more pressed on the portal than the rest of society?
They don't know what's reality.
It's funny. Billy Esposito, he's my friend on MySpace. He does a lot of things on my comments and stuff. You know who he is, Mark, right?
No.
Well, I know that name so well. I'm going to Google him after. But yeah, you don't know.
Debbie's kind of been saying that all along. I mean...
No, I've been trying to get more. See, I'm the more adventurous one. I'm the one saying, let's get him a Happy Meal. Let's get him like a little airplane DACA if they're talking on a park bench. Let's say, here, this is for you. If you don't mind if I just record you for 2 minutes, I'll play it back. If you don't mind if I use it just to prove your credibility, And I mean, how can that hurt? You're doing something for society, for science, for mental health, for everybody.
One of the experiments we've done, we've gotten some really great responses on talking about two subjects, food and sex.
Sex will do it, yeah.
And you get,
by leaving the recorder on, no, don't take me there.
Well, and food. I mean, you start talking about pot roast and spaghetti, and you get all kinds of comments.
Yeah. Or biscuits and gravy.
Bacon.
Grits, depending on what part of the country you're in. But I mean, you
that's interesting.
That makes sense.
Those primal urges tend to come out.
Well, what's interesting is, can they really eat? Because we work with shamans, and I do Day of the Dead, or at least I try to if I'm in town. But I will tell you, when I come home, the bread I leave is always gone, and so is the sugar cubes. If I'm out of town for Day of the Dead, but I'll say, like, what kind of food do you like? And, we'll leave them, Native Americans believe you give them whatever you're eating. You feed the people. You give them the first cup of coffee in the morning. So I don't do it like I should. Shame on me, but, give them a little shot glass of coffee. Even if you have the time, ask them, do you like cream and sugar? But they always get the first bite, And I always thought, hey, Day of the Dead is once a year, November 3rd. But Native Americans believe, no, it's every day. So, and I think they notice that, and I think they know your knowledge, and I think they're kind of in your head, and they kind of see you, gaze at you, see what kind of aura you're putting out, and say, no, they know. And if you know and you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, then why should they waste their time talking to you? Does that make sense?
It's all about respect.
Yeah.
It's all about respect. I agree. A lot of people, especially, I don't want to say on the convention circuit, but a lot of people that, much like you guys, that speak at a lot of conferences and teach a lot, I always enjoy asking you guys this question. A lot of people talk about how to protect yourself when you go on an investigation. Or is there any particular rituals that you two guys do before or after that you would suggest for others to do to protect themselves when they go on an investigation?
To be honest with you, I pray every day, and I pray several times a day. Also, what I've learned to do is I'll go to a church gift shop, and I'll just buy these little laminated cards. I'll even be in the room by myself. Nobody else will be there. I'll say the prayer to the dead. I tell them, you can read these words with me. I'll hide it someplace in the location, and I'll say, this is for you. Wherever I am on the planet, whenever I say this, it's meant for you guys too. The prayer for the lost souls in purgatory. And it's a Catholic prayer, and I don't know if it goes anywhere, but, that's regarding them. When you're talking about regarding yourself, I don't know. I think the more you do this, the more chance you have of picking up stuff. It's almost like working in a hospital. Like you're working in a hospital every day. And then your body kind of gets immune to some things, and antibiotics will work for you. Or, but you're out there every day, and you're doing these people, and you have no idea what disease you're handling. It's like almost, I equate it to snake venom, too. It's like you're a snake handler. You know, you get bit. Well, that snake wasn't poisonous. Throw it to the side. That snake was. But you've built enough antibodies to fend that snake off. Now you're dealing, oh, that's a cobra. Oh, crap, what do I do now? You know, and it's kind of, you live and you learn. But I feel whatever you're doing, as long as it's a good force, you know, as long as it's good for them and good for you, and, you know, you're praying for your highest good, I feel that's the best. But I'll tell you what, if you know of anything that will keep them out of your house, and I don't know anybody, to be honest with you, that records and to the extent that we do and comes home, and we probably should have some kind of prayer. I Google exorcism prayers and all that. In fact, I have a book from eBay, exorcist prayers and all this. And, you know, I say that, I believe it, I feel it, but I don't know, maybe it's, you know, not just me living in the house, and maybe the whole household has to feel that, I don't know. But it could be worse, but our home could be better, I would say. I don't really have an answer to your question, okay, Eric? I'm sorry.
Hey, and
I'm rambling on here trying to figure it out, but I don't have an answer.
And I know that I don't personally protect myself as well as I should. I do know when we do our lectures, you know, we do point out that that's probably the most important part, right, you know, if you're going to decide to investigate the paranormal. And
well, yeah, let me interrupt you real quick, though, because if something latches onto you, all right, so it's piggybacking you, and it comes back in your house. We have 2 ghosts in our house that we know of from the past couple of weeks, Pete and David. Now, Pete and David, to me, just, you know, physically, mentally, and spiritually, you know, and through EVP, seem to be ghosts. I believe they're ghosts. I believe they're dead people. But now I go to a vein in hell somewhere, and I come back here, and I don't protect myself. Now I got somebody on my back that could hurt these friends I made that are living in my house.
Right.
You know, so it's not only just worried about you, your family, your pets, anything that's alive in your home. It's also, you know, what kind of people trusted you from a location, came to your house, followed you home. Not that anything should, but I do believe, regardless what people say, if they gravitate toward you, whether you're doing EVP or not, if you're sensitive, they're going to gravitate toward you. Mm-hmm. If they like you, if they watch over your shoulder as you're on Facebook and they kind of dig it, and, you know, you're into the other side, then they'll stay at your house. I don't think you can really kick them out unless it's an evil spirit and clergy and that type of thing. But I don't know.
Yeah, I brought home a few kids.
Yes, she has. She is the kindergarten teacher of the paranormal, I think. She brings home child spirits from almost everywhere we go. She even brought one home from Home Depot once, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's funny.
This is another one that we tend to ask our more experienced guests that we have on. What's the biggest problem? Because I know you do a lot of I don't want to say training ghost hunts, but at the events you'll be part of an event that's a paranormal research or a ghost hunting event afterwards. So I know you've seen this. What's the biggest problem that you've seen from newer investigators, and how should they correct it?
Oh, the biggest problem is going off on your own, thinking you know what you know, and talking while you're recording. That's what I think. You know, also, if you're going to pay the money to do this, you might want to, you know, I'm not saying, you know, who we are or anything like that, but any of the speakers, you know, these people are hired because they're pretty much top-notch, or you wouldn't be hired. So listen to what they have to say. Don't, you know, party all night long and miss the 10 a.m. lecture, because that lecture could be worth the price of your ticket. You know, these people are golden. The ones that have been around for years, and they'll be around tomorrow when all this paranormal shine dulls, you know, these are the people you need to listen to. And, yeah, I know Mark and I are really excited. We get to work with Chris Dedman, you know, and I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but he's done a lot of work in Valeska. We're actually doing the Valeska Axe Murder House in August. We started creating our own events, but I think the beauty in this is, you know, we've met Chris several times, but never ever got to work with him. And I think that happens a lot on the other side of the table when you're a speaker. When you go to an event, you get to work with everybody, but when you're a speaker, you do your own thing, you know, you leave, you fly back, but you don't really get to interact with anybody. So by the grace of God, you know, we connected, and we get to work together for the first time, and we've been doing this since 2005, knowing Chris Dedman. So, you know, I think you need to learn from your teachers. Utilize the price of your ticket. Don't think you know it all, because none of us know it all. I can tell you, the more I learn, the more I know I don't know. And, I think the more you know, the more dimensions you know are real, and the more you realize you don't know, and always remain teachable. And I don't care who you're talking to, just the one first and foremost, I would say don't provoke, because you want to work as a team, whether they're dead, they're alive, whatever. But don't, I wouldn't want somebody in my group provoking, so why would I, go into 7-Eleven and say, give me that pack of cigarettes right now. Give it to me right now. It's like, you ain't getting your cigarettes, dude,
Right.
It's their choice to talk. Just because you have the best equipment on the planet doesn't mean they have to talk to you, And I think you kind of earn kind of respect on their side is like, okay, I'll hire them. Or, okay, all right, yeah, maybe if I'm looking at management, I'll pick you. Or whatever. But just do the right things, make the right choices in life, and, if it's your passion, it'll come around.
And real quick, I think kind of a quicker, more simple answer is, I think the most important
I really
thing,
liked my answer. I thought it was to the point. It was very good.
I liked it too.
Okay.
But I would say probably the most important thing is being certain that you are controlling your environment. Don't drop
As far as sound.
As far as when you're investigating. I mean, don't just drop your recorder down on a table and come back an hour later and listen to it 2 weeks after that at your home, because once you walk away from your recorder, you have lost total control of the environment in which it's imperative that you control.
Well,
I mean, that's why when Debbie and I do what we do, like, we keep our conferences small, because what we do is we want everybody to stay with us so that we're always controlling our environment. And we'll tell people, okay, look, guys, get comfortable. We're going to be sitting on the floor. You're going to get dusty. You're going to get dirty. It's just the way it is. We'll give everybody 5 minutes, pull out whatever paranormal equipment that you have, you want to use, you want to put it in front of you, you want to put it in the corner, you want to do whatever, you want to stretch out, just get yourself comfortable, because once we start recording, we don't want any whispering, we don't want a lot of shuffling around, and by controlling that environment, it's inevitable. When we lead investigations, it's inevitable that it's going to happen to where somebody whispers.
Well, yeah,
and
just call it a whisper, say, yes, it was me, or something like that, tag it.
Right.
But
controlling your environment, you're able to say, okay, did somebody in this room just say, did you hear that? And then we tell the person, it's fine if you do it. It's going to happen, but just tell us that you did it, so we can say on the recorder, that was not an EVP.
Right. And I think the beauty in what we do, and I think a lot of groups are doing it now, is playing back right there on the spot. And generally, Mark and I would say 97% of the time, where I pulled that figure, I don't know, but we'll generate different EVP on each recorder, and we'll roll at the same time, turn it off at the same time for about a minute burst, and play back. And we will get different yes or no questions. We will get, sometimes we'll get a yes on one recorder, a no on the other. I mean, clear enough to have to repeat that on radio. So, but my thing is, what I've learned to do is, well, for us, because we, lead groups, we put different numbers on the recorders, and it's much easier to editing. What I'll do is I'll put, we're going to Glen Tavern. So this is recorder 1, recorder 2, recorder 3, and I'll tape it onto the recorder. Then I know. And then if we get a really good EVP, I lock that EVP. I have a pad and pen. I have a little flashlight. And I write exactly, okay, that was recorder 3. That was recording number 17. I'm locking it on the recorder. This way, when I come home, I have written down on a piece of paper what I heard what at. Because a lot of times, too, you'll get home. Now, mind you, we have 2 recorders going. Right. So we'll hear something on one recorder, not on the other, or something different. Then I'll play something, or I'll be loading it, and I'll say, well, okay, we heard that was a pretty black case. And you'll look at each other, it'll be like, in our situations, well, we're very blessed, but we don't get to edit for 2 months from when we were at the location. So you're like, oh, I remember getting that. Oh, my God. It helps so much. Takes a few more extra minutes, but if you have a little flashlight, a pen and a pad, and you label your recorders and which recording it is, and you lock the cream of the crop and write it down, it saves so much headache later. You know,
we've been preaching that for years. One of the most powerful pieces of equipment is paper and a pen.
Right on.
You know that is, because, like you said, it saves so much time later. Two real quick things I want to throw this in here, guys. When you go to Villisca, do not look directly at Johnny Hauser's beard because it does sense fear.
Right.
That's the first thing. Fear the beard.
Picture senses fear in me. What are you kidding?
Fear the beard. Fear the beard. It is a beard NATO. So be very
yeah,
very
we've
careful.
known Johnny and Chris Stedman for a few years. Yeah.
Several years.
Oh, we've never met Johnny, but I've heard all good things about him.
Oh,
Johnny's
great.
involved.
Johnny's great.
So I'm excited. Damn, you want the person that lives next door involved, you know? So.
Second
Yeah,
thing, I may
about
have,
this one.
if you guys are hours and hours behind, and we'll talk about this off air, but if you guys are hours and hours behind with evidence review, I may have a way of helping you do that, but we'll talk about that off air. I have to know, because I got to know, what's favorite bucket list location that you haven't been to yet, for each of you?
That we haven't.
You think about it, Mark. You think about it.
Well, I would.
Well, Villisca was mine. That was on my top 3.
That's what I was going to say.
Oh, I've been to Amityville when I was 16, but I never got in the house. So that was back in the day before the movie came out, but, you know, I'm from New Jersey, and it was, like, right to Long Island. So, like,
right.
You know, never been in there. I would love to go to the Sally house, and I would love to go overseas.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't know where else. Edinburgh. I'll say Edinburgh.
I probably on the top of my list would be just take a trip to
or Bavaria,
Ireland, and just like spend a week like in a haunted castle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're not talking about drinking draft beer, Mark. They're talking about ghosts.
Well, spirits are spirits.
Well,
there you go.
Well, and they have single malt
I think
spirits.
you know that's not a specific location, but I mean. I would be in heaven if I ever got the chance to do something like that.
And I'd have to agree with you guys. Me personally, it's the catacombs underneath Edinburgh is where I want to go.
Well, we've been invited.
Oh, yeah,
we just
talk
have
to
to
me.
get there.
And Bavaria as well, I think would be kind of crazy. I've been watching that since the Ghost Adventures and Scariest Places on Earth. There's also, and I hate to say it because I have a lot of respect for the Native Americans, but there's an amusement park. Oh, God. I'm not sure exactly what state it's in. I have it saved in my files, but it's a haunted amusement park built on Native American ground. I don't do Native American burial ground, but it just seems so fascinating to me. So
it's the guy. I know.
I'd be interested in that.
I know we know the guys from on Scotty Rourke's network on Z Talk. There's some guys, Paravisions, that has done a show over there. I know they are involved with a haunted amusement park that they've actually been through with Jason and them from Ghost Hunters. I don't know if that's the same, I don't know if that's the same. That may be the same park, and I think it's in Ohio or
I think
Michigan,
it's Ohio.
somewhere up in there. Yeah.
I'm not sure. I have files of records and records and records, and if we get in that area, then I pull that file out. But yeah, no, it looked amazing to me.
And also, now that I'm thinking, another place I'd really, really like to go to is it's that brewery, Moon River Brewery, I think it is.
Oh, in Savannah, Georgia, yeah.
Right.
That place is supposed to be rocking. I mean, you know, we've talked to, you know, we know the Ghost Adventures and stuff, and Nick had said that was one of the most active places they've ever been to.
Oh, I got to tell you, I wouldn't mind going to Gary, Indiana, and I wouldn't take it any further.
What about Sloss? Have you guys been to Sloss?
No.
Well, no, I wanted to do that, but Mark got like ants in his pants, and he felt like not doing it. But you guys like that place?
We haven't been there.
That's one of the places I want to go
Yeah.
because a lot of people we know that have been there, and these are people
The
from both
only
ends of the
thing,
spectrum.
we've heard it's really active, but we've heard that there's a train that goes by, like, right.
There's a train that goes by Villisca, too. So what?
Well, that's like
There's
going.
a train that goes by our house. So
That's
what?
like going to
And
Fort Mifflin.
we
Fort Mifflin is right by the airport, but Fort Mifflin is still a great location.
That's another one. That's another place that I'd like to go to.
We can hook you
Because
up.
we hear so many good things about it, and one of these days, I think we're going to try to and I'm speaking for myself, but one of these days I would love to try to set up one of our own events at Fort Mifflin.
Yeah, I would too. Also, too, the Star of India in San Diego. It's a ship. I don't know if it's dry docked, but it's kind of a museum ship. I know I want to say Ghost Hunters did it. I'm not sure if Ghost Adventures did it, but
I know which one.
It just seems to me like the perfect place. It's just difficult because when you do a conference, you have to pay for your flight, you have to pay for everything. So all the expenses, and that's what you lay on the people paying the tickets, and you don't want to overcharge people. But it's a very small ship, so you can't get that many people on the ship. You know what I mean? So you kind of got to weigh all that out when you're doing your own conferences. But I would love to do it.
Yeah, and that's basically our issue in general. I mean, when Debbie and I do our own conferences, we set out to put a maximum of 25 people, sell 25 people 25 tickets, because we want it to be intimate. We want the people to get 100% of our time, and it's a lot easier when you have a smaller crowd.
I think you get better stuff when it's less people.
Well, yeah, I do too. But that is where we kind of are limited in places that we're able to pull off conferences at, because let's face it, there are some places out there that are just not willing to work with.
Well, I mean, that's not true.
I was talking. I thought.
Well,
unless it was a doppelganger.
Well, really quickly, I contacted the Myrtles because, to be honest with you, that, aside from the house I grew up in, is the most haunted location I think I've ever been at in my life, to where I've experienced a full-blown apparition, movement, poltergeist activity. Actually had a stranger witness the sound of somebody residually being hung. I mean, this is all in one evening. So, I call the Myrtles, and what they want is you to rent out the entire Myrtles, which is fine, and it's a beautiful place, and it would all be yours, and they will work with you, but it is expensive.
Yep.
So, and when we're on the other side of the country, to have to pay your plane tickets and know what you have to meet your bills at the end of the month, and you're not trying to rape people, but, you have to do what you have to do. And a lot of times what we'll do is go on Facebook and say, raise a hand, who's interested in doing this? Is it worth our time to, delve over here? And, we got great feedback from Iowa. And Iowa's a place that, I've always wanted to do. So I'm doing it regardless. And if you want to come on board, great. If you don't, that's great too. But so we're looking real forward to that. But
yeah, John will take good care of you guys up there.
Actually,
I hear nothing but good things about that, man.
Listening to them, we actually hang out in the same crowds. We've just never met.
Okay.
Because we've met, I mean, as far as Ghost Adventures, the only one we don't know is Nick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all cool. They're all just, one is just cooler than the next,
Yeah.
That's how the Ghost Adventures
I love Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron is cool. And guys, I hate to do this, but this hour just slipped away from us. People can find you guys at www.spirits-speak.com.
Yeah.
And they can there's contact info on there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can click the banners on the homepage, take you to our events, and
yeah. Right now, the only event we have up is we're doing. I think we're up to Con 11, and it's at the Glen Tavern Inn in Santa Paula, California. And as a matter of fact, it's going to be next weekend. It's going to be February 16th and 17th. And included in the price of a ticket is your room for 2 nights and a dinner on Sunday night. So
and also we'll have Chad Lindbergh on board.
Chad Lindbergh's going to be there. Not sure if you know who he is.
Fast and Furious, Ash from Supernatural, and who else? We'll have Jason Gates, his partner in crime, the Haunted Collector fame, and then we'll also have
David Oman.
Who owns the house next to the Sharon Tate murders. We've been to his house. It's damn haunted. So
yeah, and what's really interesting is the Ghost Adventures did an episode at David Oman's house, and it's going to be airing
that weekend, that Friday.
It's going to be airing
Friday,
Saturday. Ghost Adventures.
No. Ghost
Saturday.
No, it changed to Saturday. Not my bad.
So David Oman's home, and the Ghost Adventures investigation is going to be featured the day before our event. So David's going to be there. So, I mean...
And he's awesome. He loves the paranormal, and he's just one of these people you're like, damn, I'm glad I met that guy. And if you saw Paranormal Witness, his house was featured on that. So.
Yeah, David's been interviewed on the network a couple of times, and he's in an interesting location. He's kind of like, Johnny's not living in the axe murder house, but he's right next door. David kind of lives in the middle of it, because he was talked about stuff moving around in his house. He says he's got
we've been to his house. He actually, he sat us in this room, and next to the room, we're watching, and he spliced everything together, every show that was ever shot in his house. So we're sitting there watching the screen, and we're like, well, there's the fish tank. Well, we're sitting right next to the fish tank, and it's crazy. Mm-hmm. It's like built in the cliff of this canyon. Mm-hmm. But what really shook me up is he starts pulling out, this is the first time we met him, all these photographs of, police photographs of, drapes on the bodies and the bodies, And he's like, well, that happened right out here, and that happened right out here. Then I started, oh, my God, it was like the worst experience I ever had, because everything shifted. I felt what it was like to be killed. And, I do consider myself a medium, but it's not like I turn it on and off or in empath or, I don't consider it that. I consider myself a medium. I am in a place between both worlds. And when this happened, we were staying at a friend's house, and I woke up the next day. And it was like I couldn't breathe because there were so many people using my body as a vessel that, like, I woke up and I was, like, out of my body and I couldn't get back in my own body, if that makes sense. Yeah, but I mean, damn, that didn't work. I was screaming all kinds of stuff. That didn't work until about noon the next day. But I'm like, once he started showing me those pictures, it got me so real. And I was like, right, I guess jiving on that vibration. I don't know, it's just more for me to handle than anything, but, it's almost like the last house on the left, not the very last house, but the house before that, That's where it all happened.
Yeah. Well, once again, guys, stick around, don't go anywhere, but once again, thank you guys for being on tonight. We're going to have you guys back. You guys are too much fun.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, our pleasure, our pleasure. And once again, to everybody, if you're going out this weekend, be careful, be safe.
Stay warm.
Write down what you're doing. It's important. And we'll see you guys Monday night for Just Saying. You guys are having on somebody.
Because my calendar's way over there.
So be sure and tune in every night of the week. We have live stuff going on over every night of the week. And we'll